the same color nails.
Hello and welcome back to 2018 Sundance Film Festival. I'm super excited to be here with Mel Jones, director and co-creator of Leimert Park, which is playing in the Indie Episodic section here at the festival. So Mel, congratulations, first of all. You must be so excited to be here.
I am super excited.
So first of all, tell us how you got started in the industry.
I've always wanted to do film storytelling. I used to make my sister and brother do plays for my parents for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So it's always been a thing. I went to school for it at Howard University, HU. I came out to LA to go to AFI for producing. I actually started out as a producer. And I did some internships, one at Participant Media, and then I got a mentorship with Stephanie Elaine, who was awesome, who's like my fairy film godmother. And we've worked together for 7 years now, and now we're partners. And I had this idea, and I wanted to, direct it, and Macro came through digital with Leah's back there, and they gave me my first shot. So I'm excited to be at Sundance on my first shot.
Nice, awesome. Nice. So when you were at Howard, you were actually studying journalism, and doing nonfiction? Yeah,
I was doing documentary film, and first I wanted to be a photojournalist, but they wouldn't let me do the double major thing, and so I decided to do documentary because it's just motion pictures journalism, really. And so I did that for a minute. I worked at Discovery Channel, and I wanted to do more. And I had a boyfriend actually who was more into fiction stuff and narrative. And so he asked me to produce something for him. And then I did it, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much, you create everything from scratch. And so that's how I kind of started, and I kept going.
And then you also went to AFI.
Yep. So I went to AFI in 2008. There's a lot of AFIers here at Sundance because it's an amazing program at school.
And what did you focus in at AFI?
Producing.
Okay.
Producing. And so that, and being a producer, I think has really been great for me as a director because you have to know how everything works. And I know when it was time for me to make this, I could be like, well, I really want this. And then the producer would be like, no, we and I could be like, well, actually, we could do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Because I had, kind of the other experience from the other end.
Right, purviews from all around.
Yeah, to know.
So taking a step a little further back, where does your love of storytelling come from?
That comes from my dad because my dad's a preacher. And so every Sunday we would go to church, and obviously the Bible is a book of stories. He would tell one of those stories, and everybody, how it gets. I'm Southern Baptist, you know what I mean? So everyone's hooping and hollering and singing and happy. And so I got it from my dad. And even at home, when we would tell stories about our day or tell stories about our lives, he would be like, well, tell a story this way, you know what I mean? Or no, you're telling the punchline too fast. So, you know what I mean? So we always had storytelling in my house is just a part of who we are as a family. So
now, you, after film school, you got into Project Involve.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what Project Involve is?
Project Involve is awesome. So for any of you guys who are filmmakers, who just need an extra push or a bump, if you are diverse in any way, so women, people of color, LGBTQ, anything, they accept you. You come in, you get a mentor, which was Stephanie Elaine, and then you also get some money to make a short film.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of leveraged that relationship with Stephanie into a partnership. So it was really, key for where I am today to be a part of that program.
And then when you were first getting involved in the industry, you were more on the producing side, yeah?
Yep.
And what were some of the projects that you worked on producing?
So, Dear White People, I was associate producer on that. There's a Netflix film called French Dirty that I was a producer on, and then Burning Sands, that was here at Sundance last year. That's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I was a producer on that as well. And then there's another Netflix film that is going to come out. I don't know when. We're still figuring out release stuff, but it's all done. We just finished it, and it's called Juanita, starring Alfre Woodard. And that will be coming out soon. So I produced that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Leimert Park.
Yes.
Tell us about it. What's it about?
Leimert Park. Leimert Park is about 3 African-American women living in South Los Angeles, which it is the neighborhood called Leimert Park. Obviously, Leimert Park. And Leimert Park is one of the coolest neighborhoods unknown to man in Los Angeles. So it's kind of like a hidden gem. And it's like one of the places where some of the most creative, some of the coolest like black filmmakers, artists, musicians, they all kind of hang out there. And when I moved from the East Coast, I ended up just there. It's like a little beacon of light, you know? And like Ava DuVernay used to like rap on the stage there at the and we used that stage for our show, which is awesome. Like jazz musicians like Billy Higgins, like all these folks, you know, like kind of live and work around there. So it's about these three girls who are millennials, and they're trying to figure out their lives, love, sex, career, and that's about it. And, you know, they're just figuring it out.
So we actually have the trailer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Quick warning, there is some semi-adult content
Oh,
in
yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah,
but,
have your kids close their eyes.
So let's roll that trailer.
Okay.
What do you do when your vagina's in a coma? You buy a yoni egg to wake her up.
Your yoni is your vagina. 1, we know, and 2, you didn't have to whisper that. So. He's gonna be working with us for a while.
Wow!
Bridget. I'm ready.
He's happy to see you.
Tell me what's more heavenly than melanin and melody.
Can I Instagram this?
Shawty swing my way. It's the perfect recipe. So shawty, would you swing with me?
So some real characters.
Yes. Yes.
So are they creatives? Are they? I mean, you mentioned that Leimert Park is a really creative place.
Yeah. So, you know, like with this generation, our generation, you have to kind of do a bunch of things. Like the thing you love sometimes happens to be the thing that you do on the side. And so that's the case for Mickey, who is a paralegal, but she wants to be a DJ. And then Kendra, the one with the blonde hair, is crazy. She is an aspiring installation artist. And then Bridget, she works at a gallery. So they all have art kind of in their lives, but not all primarily in their lives.
And how did you come up with the concept for Leimert Park?
Well, I was living in Leimert Park, and I lived in Leimert Park for 7 years. And while there, I had 12 roommates.
Whoa.
And so,
And how big of a place was this?
it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, you know, house. Now, they weren't all there at the same time. Like, they moved in and out, but sometimes there would be like 4 or 5 of us. Sometimes there would be 2.
But you collected stories.
I collected a lot of stories from just like being around so many different people from so many different places, because there's so many transplants.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, I really want to, you know, use this stuff. Because, I mean, some of the stuff is, we couldn't even put in Leimert because nobody would believe it happened. So, you know, like, I just thought it was just so rich for, you know, coming up with like a episodic situation so that we could keep exploring these characters and using some of my experiences to feel that.
And so, I just want to make a reminder that we are taking questions from the live stream audience. So if you have questions for Mel, put them in the chat pod, and we'll make sure that we ask her. So it's an episodic. So how many episodes?
6.
Okay.
And they're 7 to 10 minutes each.
Nice. And when you started out writing it, did you write it as an episodic? Is that you knew that that's the way you were going?
Because the thing is, like, you know, I'd never directed anything before, and even at that point when we started, I was still only planning to produce it, and I thought, as a producer, this is how much money I have in the bank that I could actually spend to do this. Like, what format could I actually make something great and I could get it out to people? Because, you know, I could make a film, but then without distribution or other platform, who'd see it? But you could throw a web series on YouTube if you wanted to. So that was, the plan was always to make it, you know, episodic, because I think it's like the Wild Wild West, and it gives you the most freedom. You know, it's like non-discriminating. Like the internet is free, so you just put it up there and you can see what happens. So that was like the initial kind of idea. And then I was on my way to Sundance one year, and I told Aaliyah Williams at Macro Digital, hey, I have this idea. I'm still kind of like percolating. I'm working with this writer, Davida Scarlett, who's awesome. And we're just trying to figure it out. And she was like, oh my God, like, I want to see this. And so we kept talking. And as we developed it, she actually started working at Macro Digital. And we were able to, you know, make it not in my house with my money, which was awesome.
Even better.
Yes.
So you mentioned that when you were originally creating the concept that you were thinking of it from a producer perspective.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what happened?
So we were like, okay, we're like, all right, let's make a list. Like we wanted to, because it's a specific thing. And I really believe that like when you are very specific, you're able to, and authentic, you're able to reach a broad audience, right? So I was like, this is specific. This is Black woman. This is Leimert Park. This is South LA. We have to get a Black woman director, right? Like that, we have to do that. And it's the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're working on like diversifying the industry. So who could it be? And so, you know, like we went to Stella McGee, who's a great friend of mine. And at the time she had done a film at South by Southwest and it was awesome. And then she blew up and then we're like, damn. We can't get Stella. And then we were like, okay, who else? And so we made a list, and the list was like this big. And a lot of those women had never done anything light. It was all very dramatic fare. So Aaliyah actually was like, look, dude, I mean, if we're gonna give like somebody a chance at doing something that they've never really done before, why shouldn't it be you? Like, you know the story. If you want to do it as authentic as possible, if you want it to be as real as possible as your life, like you should do it. And I was like, think you might be right. And so they still made me pitch it though. Like they were like, well, after she says that, I'm like, oh great, I'm a director. And they were like, no, you're gonna need to tell us what you plan on doing. So I had to come up with a pitch and, you know, present it to Macro, and they loved it, and now we're here. So
you mentioned the shift that's happening in sort of diversifying the industry and the stories that are being told. First of all, I mean, it's a kind of a leading question, but first of all, why do you think that's important? And second of all, why do you think it's happening now?
Why I think it's important is because I'm here and I'm a Black woman, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a leading question, but like, you know, like I think it's important for you to see yourself in art, because if not, you don't exist, right? And so like you want to be seen, everyone wants to be seen, everyone wants to be acknowledged, and the way that we do that mostly is through the media. So it's important that everyone has their say and everyone's able to see themselves, you know, because stories are also healing. Stories help you get through stuff. You cry, oh my God, my friend's like that. Oh my God, maybe I should, you know. And so if you don't see yourself and can't connect as a human being to a particular story, and also for others who aren't like you to see you as a human being through art, then it's really hard to, you know, connect on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what we're, you know, seeing in the political climate right now, just like no connection. And I think so those stories are important, one. And then what's the other question?
Why now?
Oh, why now? So I don't know, like some people think that it's because it goes in cycles, especially for Black film, like, you know, the 70s with, you know, all the like, you know,
like blaxploitation.
Yeah, blaxploitation stuff. And then it went to the 90s, like there's a 20-year thing. Then it went to the 90s with like Boys in the Hood, and now it's now, and you know, so the skeptics are like, you know, we'll get a few years and then we'll be gone again, and then 20 years later we'll come back. But I don't think that's the case. You know, maybe because I'm young and I haven't gone through those cycles. But I think that this time it's gonna stick because of the like who lives in this world, like and who's buying things. Like, I mean, at some point the dollar's gonna speak more than prejudice, and it's happening, I think, now, because like if you look at, you know, just who's watching things, it's us, it's people of color, it's women, you know what I mean? Like we're driving the market, so in the marketplace. So I think it'll stick. Hopefully it'll stick.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I also think that while you know, there's a lot of diverse voices and diverse stories that are happening, there's also a lot of like just real life stories that happen to be, you know, featuring people of color or women.
It's
and
not
just like,
about
that's life.
Yeah, so now it's not about like, oh, I'm Black and I'm poor.
Yeah, I'm telling a Black story.
Or like, oh, I'm Black and we have to do it in the 50s because nobody Black exists today. You know what I mean? Like, oh, civil rights. You know what I mean? Like now it's just us being, you know, human beings and doing things like everybody does. And I think everyone's so excited about it because you just haven't seen it, but we see it every day. We live it. And so I think it's just important. That's why it's so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then did you find that your crew was also...
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like that's just also important because of the whole, like, when you, just in life, you call your friends, right? And so, like, if there's a film about a white male with white male producers and a white male director, I'm gonna bet all my money that it's gonna be mostly white males on the crew. Not because anyone was like trying to do anything like, you know, mean or wrong, but just because they're calling their friends, their bros who they hang out with. So it's the same thing with us. Like, it's harder. Like, we actually have to make an effort because a lot of those films are made by white men and are made, you know, so people don't have opportunities, or you have to call around and ask a few times. But it's important because we're gonna we become friends. We hang out afterward and we think about each other and we help each other grow. So all of the keys were of color and or women. So
awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah.
And then you take each other along to the next project.
Yeah,
right?
we go. Yeah, like Michelle and Cindy, amazing production designers. They are Asian American. They we did this project and then we just shot a movie in December.
Awesome.
You know, Chris, who I haven't met. I don't know what he is.
So
actually,
we'll get to Chris.
But I think he's Asian. I don't know, you know?
This is Mel's editor that we're speaking of, and she's never met him in person, but we'll get to that.
If you're watching, Chris, hey.
And actually, so speaking of, so you get picked up as director, you get that job, and you move into production. How long were you guys in production?
10 days.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was fast, in and out. Because, I mean, it still is a digital series, and, like, everyone's still trying to figure out how to monetize it. So we could spend very much money on it, even when it was a production company. So we, you know, had a 10-day shoot. We had our plan. We went in, we got in and got out.
And what were you shooting on?
We shot on the Arri Alexa.
Okay. And then when you started post-production, I know that you were actually working with a different editor and working on Avid.
Yes, so we started off with a really amazing editor named Josie Azam, and we worked out of her home, and she had Avid, and so we did that until I had to make a movie, because like obviously the digital, you know, was my passion, and then like all the rest of like my characters, I have like a job that pays the bill too, so I had to go off and make a movie, and so like in that kind of split, like we lost Josie, like Josie had to work and do things too, and we weren't, you know, paying that much, so we ended up having to find, you know, another editor like when I returned, and when that happened.
And that's Chris.
No.
Oh.
We had one, Elizabeth.
Okay.
So Elizabeth she was like, I don't work at Avid at all. So if you want me, you gotta switch all your shit to Adobe, which is great, you know, like for Adobe. And it was fine for me. I was like, okay, whatever. So we switched everything over, and we worked with her for a period of time, but we only had her for a period of time too.
Okay.
And so after her time was out, we like moved on to Chris, and Chris had both systems, but he I think he preferred Adobe and was like, okay, yes, like we can do this. He pulled everything over, and we finished everything and kind of like rejudged some of the stuff we'd already done and made it awesome for Sundance.
And so Premiere Pro was chosen basically because it was the preference of the
editor, which is normally, I don't think as a producer, normally not the case, you know?
It's changing, like things are shifting.
But I think it's like, you know, I don't know much about like all the editing stuff, but I think Adobe seems to be more like people can get their hands on it faster, they can learn on it, and so if you're working, especially in a digital medium, in the digital form, like people aren't gonna be able to afford like an Avid system or whatever, or it seems a lot more complicated, and so people are just like going to Adobe, and so I'm like, okay.
So this is the first time that you've worked on a project done in Premiere Pro.
Yeah, because everyone else has worked in Avid.
Okay, and so what was your experience like from a
producer,
obviously
director?
You still have your producer hat on,
even
when you're directing.
Yeah, it's always there.
And a director perspective, how did it go?
I was a little nervous about it. Like I was afraid that like even switching things over, we would lose things or something wrong would happen. So I was a little like, oh my God, no, you know, because like switching in the middle of something, like I didn't want anything to get lost. But it didn't. And then it was just as smooth as, you know, and then I don't know, but I feel like Chris worked faster.
Oh.
I don't know if it was just Chris or if it was Adobe, but he turned around stuff lightning fast.
Good.
So for me, it was awesome.
And so, Chris, Tell us about your relationship with Chris. How did you guys work together?
Okay, so Aaliyah Williams was like, okay, so we need to find another editor. Like, Elizabeth has to move on to her next gig. So I got this guy. I know this guy named Chris. You know, you should meet with him and see if you want to work with them. And I was like, great. Like, send me, like, we did the resume thing. And then I called him and, like, we had a phone interview because he couldn't meet. And then I was like, okay, well, I like him. Like, I could tell, like, I'm good with vibes. I was like, he's great. Like, I like him. I liked his work. I thought he was great. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I was like, you can come over to, like, what do you want to do? You want me to come to you? You want to come to me? Like, you know, I'm used to, like, I like a snuggle and
let's work together.
Yeah, like, let's get in there. And he's like, well, I like to work in my house or whatever. I was like, okay, where's your house? We're coming to your house then. And he was like, yo, it's far. I'm like, you don't even know where I live. I was like, fine, if you want to just send me stuff, right? So I figured, like, he just needed to warm up.
That is so funny.
So, like, I don't know, 5 months later or whatever, I still haven't seen him. But he's awesome. We talk all the time. One time he FaceTimed me by accident. I thought, yes. And then he hung up. So I didn't see him. Whatever. I mean, what
the legend.
Oh, Chris. And then he was like, oh, I'm coming to Sundance. He was like, I can't come.
Oh, got
like,
a job.
I was like, oh my God. So no, we've not met yet, but we talk all the time. I intend on using him in Adobe Premiere again, whether we see each other or not.
So, how was the process going between editors in terms of story and you as a director and feeling like you continued the momentum and the fact that you had to take a break and come back?
Oh, it was hard actually. Like, just because, like, it was this is my first time ever being in the seat. You know what I mean? So, like, my preference would be just, like, with one person, you know what I mean?
Of course.
But I think it was good though, because I mean, obviously I'm not going to have the luxury of, like, 3 brains again on one project, but each person came in with their own perspective and their own way of seeing the project, which they then brought to me, and I was able to say, not that, no, it's not that, and that, but actually that kind of works. And then to do that with 3 different people, I think helped, you know, even though it was really hard, like, to get back in the groove and to figure out things and to figure out how you worked and your language. Like, I don't know, like, editorial terms, so I'm like, you know, do the zhuzh thing with the you know, and they gotta go, what does that mean, you know, and, you know, send me something back. So I think overall, I think it was the best thing for the project though.
Yeah. And it sounds like Chris was able to zhuzh and
send
like
back
quick.
Yeah, like he understands my language, like, even though we don't know each other, like, face to face, like, I could say, you know, like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like, this, that. You know what I mean? Like, not even any real kind of note. Like, it's not working. And he'll be like, he'll ask a question, and I'll be like, yeah, but it's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he'll go, okay. And then send me back, like, what I needed, but I didn't tell him to do anything specifically. So that was
Now,
good.
when you were getting cuts from him, were you watching in Premiere or he was sending you exports?
He was sending me exports.
Okay.
So I didn't watch in Premiere.
Because I was going to say, with your photojournalism background, you're probably fairly comfortable in Photoshop.
Yeah. I'm good with Photoshop, which I love. Adobe Photoshop. InDesign. I love InDesign.
Good.
We did our lookbook in InDesign.
Very cool.
Which is very pretty and
glossy.
I
saw your poster is gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm not as technically savvy as I would like to be, but in terms of, like, graphic stuff, I'm very much, like, I know, you know, like, what I want and, like, what's possible. I did, like, a printmaking class at Howard, and we did a lot of stuff in Photoshop. So I love Photoshop. It's like, I'm like, if you want to be my friend, you have to have Photoshop. Because at some point I'm gonna say, like, can you, like, if I know that you have it and you know it better than I do, I'm like, can you do this thing with my thing? Like, all my friends have Photoshop. Nice. All of them, because I need help. Like, I'm not good with the, like, you know, what are they called, the shortcuts and stuff? Yeah. But I know what you can do. Like, I know, like, layer this or do this and da-da-da, like.
You got the lexicon.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So when you started out with the project, you're an alumni of Sundance. You've been here before.
Yeah.
Did you have it in mind that you wanted to submit? Did you know that the episodic section was coming and that...
I did not know that the episodic section was coming. I knew that Macro had, like, shown, sometimes they do, like, special things in Next and da-da-da, and they had shown, like, 1 or 2 episodes of one of their digital series prior, like last year. And so I knew that had happened, but I didn't know if that was going to be a thing again or whatever. So we thought we were going to self-distribute or, you know, kind of take meetings and try to figure out a good place for it to go. And then a friend of mine, Drea Clark, who's now a programmer here, told me like, oh yeah, like we're looking for stuff, like you should send your stuff. And so I sent it, and then we got in.
So tell me about that, when you found out that you got in.
Oh, okay. First of all, the programmer who called Stephanie, my partner, who like doesn't answer her phone ever, and left a message, right? And so he was like trying to get a hold of us, and then so he sent me an email. I guess he didn't have my phone number because she said, you know, like she submitted as a producer, and I was like, you know, going through emails, and I saw this like email. I'm like Sundance, like, what is this about? I thought it was like a party or like a, you know, Next Fest or some random thing. And it was like, we're pleased. And I'm like, no, like, not on that email. I could have lost this. And then I called her. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And then I called her. She's like, oh yeah, I just checked my voicemails. they just called. I'm like, Stephanie. But it was great. It was I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, like, I love being the first. Like, I love doing new things and different things. I mean, that's part of why the web is and digital is so exciting to me in general. Like, that was what I wanted to do. It wasn't like, oh, I want to make a movie, but I couldn't. And so I wanted to make a digital series, and I wanted to kind of explore like all the possibilities. So to have like a stage like Sundance to do that is amazing.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting you bring that up, the sort of growing number of platforms where people can see their content, share their content. It sounds like when you started out with Leimert Park, your idea was like, we'll put this out online, we'll see what kind of interest it gets.
Yeah, we'll build an audience. Because I knew that the content, like, people are wanting it. You know what I mean? Like, if you think of the stuff that's around, like, Insecure in Atlanta, like, people want it, people need it. So I knew, like, if I could just get it out there, something would happen, you know, to it and with it. So
what is your hope? What's your dream?
My dream is to just
Sundance?
keep making Leimert Park in whatever form that would be. Like, I'm just still wanting to explore. Like, I still don't know like what all the possibilities are. We've had a lot of interest. So like tons of people from all different back TV, digital, everything, and you know, they're all like excited about it. So we'll just see what happens. I'm excited either way. Like, as long as people see it, I don't, you know.
It's interesting you bring up Atlanta and Insecure, because it also is like, there's not only online, but streaming platforms, that it's not just about the big networks. And, you know, I mean, obviously Insecure is HBO, but like, and FX, but there's also, there's Hulu, there's Netflix, there's
Amazon,
and they got their eye on Sundance, that's for sure.
They do. You know what I mean? So who knows what can happen? I'm just excited to like open my arms up and receive like whatever the best thing is for Leimert.
So I always like to finish off with a lot of our audiences as young people aspiring to be where you are.
Oh.
What would your advice be, or what do you think are some of the best things that you did for yourself along the way?
I think you just have to believe in yourself, and I know that's like so believe in yourself, but like honestly, like you don't even have to be that great. I'm just being honest. Like, you just have to believe in yourself. Somebody else will believe in you too. Like, and not like pretend. Like, actually believe. Like, I have something to say. I have something that I can offer to the world. Like, I might not know exactly how to do it. So that's the first thing. Just believe that you have something to give, and then do it. Like, don't wait for anybody. Don't be like, well, I have to get this person or that person to be a part of it, or I gotta raise this much money, or I gotta use this exact camera. Like, don't wait for anyone's permission, because you'll be waiting for a long time. And like with this, like, we're gonna make it in my house, and I would have been, you know, happy to have done that, and something would have come from it, you know, like who knows what. But it didn't. I just started the process of doing it, and it grew into like what it is now. So you just have to do it. You
bring up a good point too, the sort of democratization of the filmmaking process, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have a camera
on your phone. You can do that.
You have the tools to get it done.
The Florida Project's on a phone, and all the films that Sean Baker makes is on a phone. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, you can do, at this point, it's not like it was when you had to buy film and process it, and it was such a like rich man's medium. Like, now it's for everyone. So do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here
Thank you
with
for
us,
having
Mel.
me.
And thank you guys all for tuning in. Be sure to stay tuned for more filmmaker Q&As live from the 2018 Sundance Film Festival.